Well, that wasn't real Marxism. What it really means, and I've thought about this for a long time, it's the most arrogant possible statement anyone could ever make. And I would have ushered in the damn utopia instead of the genocidal massacres, because I understand the doctrine of Marxism and everything about me is good. You don't understand it. You don't understand it. And you're not that good. And if the power was in your hands, assuming you had the competence, which you don't, you wouldn't have done any better. And even if you had, there would have been someone else waiting right behind you to shoot you the first time you actually tried to do anything good.
Everybody who's read Karl Marx and understands economics doesn't like him.
Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, now Cyprus, all broke. And other European nations are close. Why? Because they're nanny states. And there are not enough workers to support all the entitlements these progressive paradises are handing out.
I think the last poll was nearing or over 40% of young people are okay with socialism, like the actual socialism, because they don't know anything. They've been taught stupidity, and how they feel is all that matters. I mean, there's a video that's going around the internet getting all sorts of play about income inequality. Income inequality is the stupidest issue. Income inequality means nothing, right? I mean, I have a lot of income inequality with Bill Gates, but I'm doing pretty well, and I don't care that Bill Gates is doing really well. The only thing we should all care about is that there are poor people.
Has maybe been used for some bad regimes. Okay, let's flip that. Name me any good communist economies that have come. One. Let's start with.
Unfortunately, as evidenced by failed communist rule of the 20th century, as well as systems that are currently still in place, the living conditions are far from comfortable, with people living very simple lives and workers putting out long hours. When communism is mentioned, the first thing that most people think of is usually 20th century Russia, where the people starved and worked themselves to death while those in power lived lives of luxury while pretending to have abolished the class system. Most communist states have been or are still run by totalitarian dictators. While many communist soldiers died during World War II, many people who opposed communism within their own nations were persecuted and executed. What's more, if anyone was thought to have said anything against the communist government or suspected of any actions that did not adhere to communist doctrine, they were executed. It is estimated that Mao Zedong killed more than 40 million people under his rule of China.
It's immoral, it's evil, it's wrong. You're going to have to steal people's labor from them. But people are not told this, and so they think that their own subjective vision of what reality should look like should govern what reality actually looks like, and it's only later, after 80 years of communist failure, that they realize, oh, that, and hundreds of millions of people dead, that they realize, oh, that was a bad idea.
I don't think we can reasonably risk another 100 million deaths to try this experiment one more time. I think that experiment has been tried so many times and in so many different cultures and countries and has resulted in the same human disassembly machine dictatorship every single time. We simply don't have any. Unless people are going to willing to spend their own damn lives or the lives of their own children, we don't have enough human beings and never will to try that experiment even one more time.
Without the incentive for extra pay, there is no reason for someone to spend 6 years studying medicine than there would be for someone to spend 2 months apprenticing at a bakery. This kind of indifference breeds stagnation and ultimately contributes to the poor quality of life experienced under communist rule.
In a free enterprise system, your value is determined precisely by your contributing power, your skill sets, and your work ethic.
Why is communist so much less a term of revulsion than Nazi? Communists killed 70 million people in China, more than 20 million people in the Soviet Union, not including about 5 million Ukrainians, and almost 1 out of every 3 Cambodians. And communists enslaved entire nations in Russia, Vietnam, China, Eastern Europe, North Korea, Cuba, and much of Central Asia. They ruined the lives of well over 1 billion people. So why doesn't communism have the same terrible reputation as Nazism?
Communism can only prey on fear and insecurity. Can capitalism? Sure, but it can only work if it simultaneously highlights the human desire to succeed, to progress, and to grow.
Oxfam did a study recently that said the richest 100 or so people have more wealth combined than the bottom half of the population of the planet. That's a level of inequality that you have to go back to the ancient pharaohs to see. We've also had 2 collapses of this capitalism in the last 75 years, one in the 30s and now another one in in 2008. Most Americans are not back to where they were in 2007 in terms of their real incomes. Their jobs are less secure. They have fewer benefits. I think you're seeing a return to socialism, not so much because people like socialism. That may come. I don't think it's there yet. It's people who don't like what they got and what they see for their kids.
The rich and the corporations don't pay the taxes, puts the government in the jam, and the government gets out of the jam by going to the rich and the corporations, not taxing them, which would have gotten the money, taken care of the problem, and left the government with no debt. No, we don't do that. Instead, we go to the exact same people, borrow the money from them, so the government can do the same thing, but is stuck with a perpetual, overwhelming debt that freaks everybody out. Is this a necessary way to solve the problem? No. Is it a rational way to solve the problem? No. This is a way to solve the problem that panders to corporations and the rich. It basically says to them, you have the money that the government needs to keep this society going, but you don't want to part with it. So we are here to tell you, you don't have to. We'll borrow it from you. We'll pay it all back and pay you an interest for being so kind, you lovely people.